Welcome to all of you as we begin the Holy 3 Days, the Triduum, with our celebration tonight of the Mass of the Lord's Supper. This Mass brings together three central themes that the Lord wanted his disciples, the church, to understand. And so we reflect on these themes. One, of course, is the institution of the Eucharist, then the institution of the priesthood, and finally, the call to service. The Eucharist is a center of our church, and we say that over and over throughout the year, but this is an opportunity tonight to stop and think about why it's so important. The Lord knew that he only had a few hours before he was going to face his accusers and be sentenced to death. So what he was going to do tonight, which is the first night of the Passover, it was of utmost importance. This was of maximum importance to him in communicating what he wanted his disciples to prioritize. And so he showed them that the way for the church to be united, the way for each of us individually to be united with our Lord, was through receiving his body and his blood. The Lord understood that this institution he was forming, the church, could not possibly be united across cultures, across languages, across history, unless there was something that transcended everybody's rational ideas and that united everyone. No matter what language you spoke, no matter how educated or how uneducated you were, that all of us could grasp this one incredible reality. We're not going to fathom the whole of it, but all of us could grasp this one reality, that this is his body and his blood. And if we receive him worthily, we are in communion with him, with Catholics throughout the ages. Throughout the ages. What a great gift. What a great gift the Lord has bestowed upon us, giving us this as the anchor for our church, the Holy Eucharist. In order to make that happen, though, there had to be people who were authorized to confect the Eucharist, obviously. And so the priesthood. These men that were gathered around him, these 12 apostles that he had chosen, he conferred on them the authority to make present. He said, "Do this in remembrance of me." The priesthood. It's an enormous privilege. I'll be celebrating 27 years in June, and I can't tell you how would I say this? I've not one day woken up thinking, I wish I wasn't doing this. This is just this great privilege that I have, and I know most priests experience it. The call is unlikely. None of us really were destined to be priests, or it was clear from early on, oh, he's going to be a priest. None of us would say that. Maybe a few priests when they were young boys wanted to be priests, but most of us had to go through our own process of discernment to finally accept this call. And we're unlikely, all of us are unlikely candidates for this great privilege of being a priest. Some people think, well, if you're a priest, you're a really holy person. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. What I would say, though, is that we are called to make you holy. If we become holy, it's only because we ourselves have been faithful disciples. Just like you. We have to do everything you do in order to become a faithful disciple and thus become sanctified. But what God does guarantee is not the minister, but the ministry. And this is such an enormous blessing. Yes, you want holy priests. Pray for holy priests. Pray for priests who will truly fulfill their vocation. But understand that whether the priest is someone you just really are crazy about or someone who drives you crazy, it's what he does on the altar is absolutely perfect, no matter who the priest is, because God guarantees that through that sacrament of holy orders, that what he does on the altar, what he does in the confessional, what he does at the font, that it's always, always perfect. And Jesus Christ is always fully present in these sacraments that he entrusts to the priests. So today is a great day for us to give thanks to God that he chose unlikely, unworthy men as us to be your servants and your priests. And of course, the third theme is that of service, and that should come from the second. There was a recent series on CNN about the papacy that got rightly panned because the mindset was the power of these popes, right? And that's everything was based and looked upon through the lens of the power, the most powerful men on earth. When Jesus called us from the highest to the lowest to serve. Our authority comes to us in serving, not in lording it over, but in serving. And you can't get that. If you have a worldly political view, you're simply not going to understand this institution of the church. It's no wonder that the Pope calls himself the servant of the servants of God, meaning his role is to serve the bishops. And the bishop's role, of course, is to serve everyone else. So the servant of the servants of God. So that's why we do in emulation of what Jesus did by washing the feet of those who represent his followers. And, you know, it's hard for us to really grasp what a humiliating thing that was for Jesus to wash his apostles' feet. It's no wonder that Peter refused to do it, because not even slaves used to wash their master's feet. This was degrading, and Jesus now went beyond that, did something that was truly humiliating in order to show his apostles just how high the stakes were, that they should be faithful servants and be willing to serve the people that are entrusted, giving as an irrefutable example. So tonight, we ask for all of us, and this now applies to you. You'll never be priests to confect the Eucharist, but all of you, all of us, are called to be faithful servants. In whatever ambit God has us, whatever environment God has us in, we're called to serve. Always, how can we serve? How can we bless? How can we lift up? How can we edify? So as we wash the feet of these people tonight, I ask all of you to be reflecting how you can become a more generous servant, following the example of the Lord, who said, "The Lord, the Son of Man, did not come to be served, but to serve." I invite those people in our congregation who are going to be having their feet washed to come forward.